Hello students, I hope you all have seen 1 to 4 parts of chapter 10 organs of government, and now in this fifth part we are going to discuss about president, the prime minister and the vice president. Let us begin with the part 5. Now we'll see about the president. See, I'm going to explain you about the president of India, his eligibility, his election and terms, and what are they. See, first of all, the president has the supreme responsibility and authority to defend and protect the constitution of India, and hence he is called the constitutional head of India. And the constitution gives him all the executive power of the federal government, and all the works of the central government, they are carried out in the name of the president, and he is the head of the nation and the first citizen of Indian Republic. And now we'll see is the eligibility, that is a qualification that to become the president of India should be a citizen of India with the age of 35 years or more. It should not be a salaried employee of the government or hold any office of profit, and should not be a member of any of the house of the parliament or state legislative assembly. And what are the elections and the terms for them? The president, he is elected through voting by the elected members on both the houses of parliament and the elected members of legislative assemblies, and he is elected for the term of 5 years, and he can again contest the election after completion of his term. And when the president is in power, neither any criminal case can be framed against him, and nor any other order to arrest him can be made when he is a president. See, all this is being given in this two paragraph, that is president and qualification. Now moving ahead, that will see the functions and powers. See, what are the functions and powers? First we'll discuss about executive powers. Which are the executive powers? Is the president, they appoint the leader of the party and who has gained majority in the general election, who has gained majority votes in the general election as the prime minister. And then as per the suggestion of prime minister, he appoints the other ministers in the cabinet of the prime minister. And the president cannot dissolve the cabinet as long as the cabinet, they enjoy the support of majority of Lok Sabha members, all the Lok Sabha's member which are there. And he administers the oath of secrecy and distributes the portfolios to all the ministers. And president, he is the head of the defense force of the country. The president, he has the power to declare war, curse the war, or conclude treaties with other countries. And he also appoints the judges of Supreme Court and High Court, governors of the state, attorney general, comptroller, and auditory general. He can appoint all of them. And he appoints the head of the defense forces also, chairman of the Union Public Service Commissions, that is UPSC, and the ambassadors to various nations. And the judicial power which he has, that is he can grant pardon or reduce the sentence of any convicted person, or he can also postpone its implementation, or he can change the nature of the punishment also. And talking about the legislative power, what he has, president has, is he summons the sessions of both the houses of parliament and prorogates them, and he can also dissolve the Lok Sabhas. And a bill that parliament has passed can become law only when after the president's signature. And the president can also return the ordinary bill to parliament for reconstruction. And the president permits the annual budget. He has a right to permit all the annual budgets to be laid in the Lok Sabha. And the next we'll see is the emergency power which the president holds, is that First we'll see is a national emergency. See, if the president is satisfied that the security of India or any part of its territory is threatened by the war or external aggression or an armed rebellion, then he can declare a state of emergency for the whole of India or any part of it. And the declaration of emergency cannot be challenged in court. And for that was for the national emergency. And talking about the constitutional emergency, is if the president he is satisfied that the security of India or any part of its territory is threatened by, see, in constitutional emergency what we see is that that is based on the report of the governor. The president they can declare constitutional emergency in that state, and he can also establish the presidential rule by dissolving the state cabinet ministers. That was about the national emergency and the constitutional emergency. Now moving ahead, that is financial emergency. See, in the case of any financial emergency, the president can reduce salaries of all the government officials, including judges of Supreme Court and the High Court also. And thus the president they hold a very large authority of executive and administrative powers both. And though the president they has a vast executive and administrative power in them, though all the administration that is to be considered in the hands of the president only, and that is done in his name only, yet in reality the prime minister and the council of minister they enjoy these powers. And now moving ahead, we will see the vice president. See, the vice president, we will talk about the vice president in the absence of president. See, when there is the absence, if the president is not there, the vice president he can perform the function of president, and the vice president till his election is carried out by the member of both the houses of parliament. And what is the term period of vice president? That is 5 years. And the vice president he is the chairman of the Rajya Sabha, and the president he submits his resignations to the vice president. The next is we will see is the prime minister. Now we will talk about the prime ministers. See, the prime minister now he is the real head of the central government. He is at the topmost and he is the real head, the prime minister. And the prime minister he is also the head of planning commissions, now known as a policy commission, and he is a member of any one house of the parliament. See, in the executive form if we see, the prime minister he selects, see, prime minister is there, he is the head of the central government, and he is also head of all the ministers. He is the head of the party who has achieved a majority in the general election, and the leader of the party that wins maximum votes in general, in the general election they become the prime minister of India. And the president then formally he appoints him as the prime minister, and the prime minister is the head of planning commission, and this commission that is known as policy commission. And what is the role of the cabinet ministers in that? There are 3 levels of ministers under the prime minister. See, which are there? The 3 levels of ministers, that is the cabinet minister, the state minister, and the deputy minister. The first we will talk that the prime minister he selects the ministers of his choice, and he can can assist him in his work. And the group of ministers who are there is called the cabinet minister, or they are known also as the council of ministers. And the president appoints this cabinet minister as per the suggestion of prime minister, and he distributes the portfolios of these ministers, that is which minister will look after which work of the country. And one minister may be given the portfolio of railway minister, another may be given of defense minister, agriculture, and so on. and if then becomes the responsibility of this minister to handle this department or says minister, then the prime minister has got the power to decide which minister to select or to remove or to allow to continue in the cabinet. And he presides over the meeting also of the cabinet, and he also looks after the functioning of various department of the cabinet. And the prime minister also take decision on crucial matter brought to him by the cabinet. What is the role of parliament in this? See, the prime minister is a member of any one house of the parliament, and the council of minister is collectively they are responsible and accountable of the Lok Sabha. And if the Lok Sabha they reject some policies of the government on any particular issue, for example, if we see in the defense policy, the entire council of minister and not only the minister of that department is held responsible, but if the problem is not sorted, the entire council has to resign. Now, what are the position of prime minister that we have discussed is and in the executive power, what is in power in the what is position in the executive power we discussed little bit earlier. And what is it that the prime minister he selects a minister of his choice, who he thinks can assist him in his work, and this group of minister that is called cabinet minister and cabinet council of ministers. See, we had a talk earlier that the cabinet minister they are the suggestions, they as per the suggestions of the prime minister they are appointed. The president appoint this cabinet minister, and he also distributes the portfolios to these ministers, and prime minister also got the power to decide the minister or to select or remove them. Now next we will see in the next part, part 5.